To a Fish by James Lee Hunt. Read for LibriVox.org by Alex. 2008, New York.
Yar, ye strange, astonished-looking, angle-faced, dreary-mouthed, gaping riches of the sea, gulping salt water everlastingly. Cold-blooded, though with red your blood be graced, and mute, though dwellers in the roaring waste. And you, all shapes beside that fishy be, some round, some flat, some long, all devilry, legless, unmoving, infamously chaste. O scaly, slippery, wet, swift, starry whites, what is ye do? What life lead, eh? Dull goggles? How do ye vary your vile days and nights? How pass your Sundays? Are ye still but joggles in ceaseless wash? Still not, but gapes and bites, and drinks and stares, diversified with boggles?
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Nemo. A Handbook of Fish Cookery by Lucy H. Yates. The Cooking of Fish. The recipes given in this part have been gleaned from reliable sources. Many of them are from French cooks and are strictly in accordance with the methods in use in the best cuisines, where the cooking of fish receives great care and attention. For greater convenience and reference, the recipes for preparing the different kinds of fish are all classed under the name of each kind, and the names given in alphabetical order. Perhaps the only ways of properly cooking fish are baking and broiling, yet these are precisely the ways least practised out of France. Boiling and frying have hitherto held too great a monopoly in our methods. In the following pages, while giving the latter modes their due share of attention, we beg to call for special notice to be given to the examples for broiling, etc., as they may be relied upon to bring about a satisfactory result if carefully followed. To begin with, a few general directions. In broiling, a perfectly clear fire is absolutely indispensable, more so in the case of fish than when intending to cook steak or chops. A shovelful of good cinders, slightly wetted, and given sufficient time to become red hot, will generally ensure a good surface heat. But a charcoal braisière is par excellence the fire for this purpose, and no French housewife considers her kitchen complete without this little contrivance. A little charcoal sprinkled over some hot coals is not a bad substitute for it. A special gridiron should be kept for fish only. After using, let it be thoroughly washed and dried, and before using again, rub the bars over with a little oil. Fish is more easily marked and apt to stick sooner than meat. If the gridiron is not a double one, use a pair of sugar tongs with which to turn the fish over. Beware of sticking a fork into it. There can be no doubt that grilling brings out a flavour which nothing else will. What can surpass a fresh mackerel, grilled after being split open and boned? An important point to bear in mind in this method of cookery is to keep in the flavour. A slice of grilled salmon will taste far nicer if the slice has been wrapped in buttered paper, but cooking anything in paper requires the greatest care, as should there be the least flare the paper will catch fire. What is required is a fierce heat. When baking fish en papillote, that is, wrapped in buttered paper, the chief thing to bear in mind is not to spare the butter. This, one of the most delicate and delicious ways of cooking fish, is apt to be entirely spoilt because only a little dab of butter is allowed. When fish has been cooked in paper, it should be sent to the table just as it is, paper and all. Always use plain white notepaper, never printed. In boiling fish, a very common fault is omitting to put sufficient salt into the water. In the case of large fish, salt should be added in the proportion of half a pound to a gallon of water. For smaller fish, a proportion of a quarter pound to the gallon is sufficient. It is now generally thought best to place fish in nearly boiling water, then allow it to come gently to the boiling point again. This keeps in the flavour on the same principle as the boiling of meat. The time allowed depends entirely on the size of the fish, but when the flesh shows signs of being just able to be separated from the bone, it is amply done. Experience is the only safe guide. To preserve the whiteness of whitefish, it is wise to rub them over with lemon juice before boiling. One method of boiling fish, when it is intended for eating cold, which is much approved on the continent, is to do it in court bouillon, and if freshwater fish be cooked this way, it is relieved of much of its insipidity. 1 part of vinegar, 1 part of red wine, to 4 parts of water, for the bouillon. To 2 quarts of the liquor put an ounce of salt, half an ounce of pepper, a bunch of savoury herbs, a sliced onion and a carrot. Sometimes a small piece of salt bacon is